Hey, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name's Christina Kent and I'm a fine artist based out of San Francisco. In this video, I wanted to talk to you about something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, and that is the problem or the pitfall that comes with success in your art practice. And this is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, especially starting the year. I feel like I kind of started the year on a high note with my solo show, and then I had a period of really slow sales and was feeling a lot of failure as an artist. And then recently, my sales have picked up and I've been feeling really successful again. But that's also kind of caused some more conflicting feelings to arise, and it's posed its own challenges. So in this video, I want to talk about kind of sharing my story of what's happened over the past few months, and then talk about the problems that I've noticed, or the problem that's sort of come up, and then discuss ways that I'm sort of trying to deal with that problem. And I think it's important to note from the start that when I'm talking about success, I'm referring to both sort of external and internal indicators of success. So like an external indicator of success could be like having a lot of sales, winning some awards, or just getting a lot of positive feedback from your peers. An internal measure of success could be like the feeling of joy when you complete a painting and you feel like it turned out really good, or maybe you did a whole body of work that you felt like was really successful. So I think that these thoughts can apply to both types of success, whether it's internal or external. In this video, I'm going to be talking more about external indicators of success, and especially how it relates to my career as a fine artist. But whether you are a career artist or you're a hobbyist, we all experience success in our art practice, and so I think that this applies to all of us. Okay, so what's my problem with success? So if you've been following my channel for a while, you probably saw that earlier in the year I was having some issues with sales and kind of feeling like a failure. I had put some work in a show and nothing sold. I put work on my website and nothing sold. And you know, even though I was happy like intrinsically with the work that I was producing, as someone who is making my career as a fine artist, it was really hard not getting commercial success from my work. Okay, so I was kind of struggling with that. But I was still creating work for shows, and I created this series of nightscape paintings, my series Night in the City, which is a series of paintings about nighttime in San Francisco for this show that was happening in San Francisco starting in August. And so I ended up doing the show and I showed the work, and it ended up being a huge success. Like, it was the first time that all of my paintings in a single show had sold out, and I was just overjoyed. And I want to be careful that, like, especially in a video that talks about some of the problems of success, that I also share just how joyful it felt, how happy I was, how gratifying it was to have so many people connect with my art and really enjoy it, and just be really enthusiastic about it, like to feel like this series that I'd done had really struck a chord that people appreciated. That was so gratifying and fulfilling. And I don't want this video to come across as like, oh, success just brings problems, because that's not true. Like, yes, there are some problems that come up when you experience success, but at the same time, like, of course, this is what a lot of us are working towards, and it feels amazing. And yeah, I'm so happy with the reception that the work has received. But this brings me to the problem that arose. So after doing the work for this show, I end up coming here to Sonoma County to do a residency and do a lot of landscape painting. And that was my idea. You know, I'm in this beautiful landscape. It's so inspiring and stunning, and I really wanted to soak in the landscape, do lots of plein air painting, and then develop those plein air pieces into larger landscape pieces. But as I went to paint, as I started taking reference photos and going to the studio and considering what I wanted to paint, I noticed that I was feeling a lot of doubt and uncertainty, and something was holding me back. I kept procrastinating and just, finding other things to do besides painting, and kind of not taking action on my ideas. Even though I did feel like I had a lot of potential ideas, I had a hard time getting started. And I realized there was this conflict that had arisen in my mind, that my heart really wanted to do landscape painting and embrace the environment that I'm in, but my ego, which had just experienced all of the success of my sold out show, was saying, hey, you know, you did this show with these cityscape paintings, you're getting a lot of positive feedback on your cityscapes, like, that's what you should be doing. Like, forget about this landscape stuff, don't work on the landscapes, focus on the cityscapes, because people are really resonating with those. And I would be drawn to painting the landscape, but the ego would keep telling me like, no, that's a waste of time. Don't spend your time on the landscapes. Like, the cityscapes is really where the good stuff is. You should focus on that. And so I felt this strong dilemma, like I'm in the landscape here and I really like to paint what I'm experiencing in the moment, like what my environment is, and draw inspiration from that because I find that really powerful. But at the same time, I had this really successful show of cityscape paintings and my ego kept telling me like, yeah, go for the cityscapes. That's what you should be doing. And I think what makes this tricky is that I do intrinsically love painting both things. I love painting the city, but I also love painting the landscape. So I felt kind of stuck in this indecision. Like, do I paint the landscape, which my heart feels called to paint in this moment, or do I paint the cityscape, which I feel like is more of a sure bet to be successful and to get people excited? And that's where I think success can be really difficult. It creates this expectation. Like, once you realize that something is successful, it creates this desire to keep doing that thing because you want to repeat that success. You want to make it happen again. And doing something else that maybe hasn't been as successful in the past, or maybe that you haven't tried before, that's risky, that's uncertain. And so I think that when we experience the success, there can be this tendency to almost like play it safe or do what we're more familiar with rather than exploring or trying things out that don't seem as that are not as much of a sure bet. And so for me, this was causing the problem that I was feeling really indecisive and having trouble knowing which way to go. And at the same time, it also made me want to be more conservative in my art and kind of look at the things that worked really well and exploit that rather than exploring the new ideas that I was really excited about. And I think this is one of the things that's really freeing when you're very early on in your art career. I mean, I still see myself as like, I've been, painting professionally for maybe 4 years now, which is not a long time. But I even think back to like my first year when I got back into painting and I was really taking it seriously. I was just willing to try anything and do anything because I just had no expectation and I didn't have any pressure to live up to previous successes. To me, it reminds me a lot of the concept of beginner's mind, which they talk about in Zen Buddhism, which is this mind that has no expectation and in that way is kind of open to any possibility. They say in the mind of the beginner, possibilities are infinite, but in the mind of the expert, possibilities are few. And this is what success can do. It can cause us to narrow our mindset or narrow the options that we allow ourselves, which I think can work really well if you're purely a business person running a company that's trying to make some sort of product. But as artists, this can be so stifling for our creativity. As artists, we need to explore, we need to challenge ourselves, and we need to take risks and allow ourselves to potentially go down dead ends that end up not leading to anything productive because it's all part of the process. Maybe you pursue a new body of work and you don't think it's successful and it doesn't receive any positive reviews, or maybe you don't even find it very powerful yourself, but maybe you needed to produce that body of work to help you get on to the next thing. Like, I think that our creative process, and it's very intuitive and I think it's also very subconscious in a lot of ways. Like, I think wherever inspiration comes from, we don't fully understand how it works. And sometimes it can lead us in a direction that doesn't seem to make sense in the short run, but over the long term, we realize like actually was really important for our creative growth. So while I think that this kind of narrowing of focus and this kind of conservative mindset can be a problem with success, it's also something, it's no reason to avoid success entirely. I definitely want to keep pursuing success and trying to do well with my work. But at the same time, I think it's just something that we need to be mindful of as artists, so that we can realize when that fear, the fear of failure, or the fear of taking a risk after some success comes up. So then if you're in a position like me and you feel drawn to repeat those cityscapes that were so successful, but then your heart really wants to paint landscapes, you can realize like, okay, my ego wants me to do these cityscapes because that's what worked well in the past, but I'm feeling a strong desire to do landscapes and I need to trust that and I need to give that a chance and explore that. And maybe the series of landscapes won't be my strongest paintings, but maybe something that I learn from those landscape paintings will feed into my cityscapes or will feed into my other future work that will make it all that much stronger. So maybe you're listening to this like me after a big successful exhibition, or maybe you just produced a few paintings that you really, really liked and you feel the temptation to keep doing the same thing. Well, if you're in that position, but your heart feels called to do something else, then I hope that this video inspires you to take that call to adventure. Be willing to take risks and embrace those ideas that you're not sure if they're going to work out. Because I feel like it's through constantly pushing past our comfort zone that we create work that feels alive and that we grow as artists. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. And let me know if you've experienced success recently and if you had similar feelings and how you worked through them. And if you're curious, I did end up focusing on the landscape during my residency in Sonoma County. I'll be sharing more about it soon, but here's a sneak peek of some of the paintings. And as always, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel and making these videos happen. If you like my art, if you like my videos, and you want to help me make more, check out my Patreon at the link. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. And just as a quick note, I'm super excited to share that I recently launched a new portrait painting course on my website. In this course, we take the portrait and we break it down into simple light and shadow shapes. Then we add nuance to create and fully resolve the portrait. So if you want to see the step-by-step, real-time process for my portrait painting, be sure to check that out.